Well, welcome back to our course on Christian apologetics. This is still part of collaboration session 2, but as I'm doing for each of these sessions, I'm doing a highlight on an apologist. And so this one, we're going to be focusing on Augustine. So this is the second of 4, and we can see the general timeline that we're dealing with these individuals. And so let's give a little bit of perspective and background for who Augustine is before we get into the quote that we're going to be looking at. And it's going to be directly from our anthology that you could quickly find. So Augustine of Hippo was a theologian and philosopher widely regarded as one of the most influential church fathers of Western Christianity. He was born in Thagaste, Numidia, which is modern day Algeria. He was of a Berber origin. His early life was marked by a pursuit of rhetoric and philosophy, and he initially followed Manichaeism before converting to Christianity in 386 AD. So he converted to the faith. After his baptism, Augustine became a priest and later the bishop of Hippo Regulus. His writing shaped Christian theology, particularly in areas such as original sin, grace, and free will. His most famous works include Confessions, a spiritual autobiography, and The City of God, which defends Christianity against pagan criticism and laid the foundation for medieval Christian thought. As Bishop of Hippo Regulus, Augustine became a prolific writer, producing works that influenced Christianity theology for centuries. And so in his Confessions is a spiritual autobiography reflecting on his journey to faith. So that's a nice thing that we have. And then back thinking about the City of God, it defends Christianity against pagan criticism and lays the foundation for medieval Christian thought. And he also contributed significantly to doctrines such as original sin, grace, and just war theory. So he did apologetic work. He spent the time to talk about his conversion and also engaged in theological scholarly works. So Augustine's adaptation of classical philosophy to Christian teaching made him one of the most important Christian fathers. His ideas shaped both Catholic and Protestant traditions, and he remains a central figure in theological discourse today. Augustine's theological contributions influenced both Catholic and Protestant traditions, and his ideas on just war theory and biblical interpretation remain significant. He was canonized as a saint and is recognized as a doctor of the church. So that's a little bit of perspective for you to be thinking about. And so this is what we have in our anthology. And so this is having Augustine talk about the canonical books. And what we're going to be seeing as we read through this is he's going to be more focused on the Catholic tradition, which is understandable. The Catholic Church was the one universal church before other denominations were found. So this will be over several pages, and we'll just walk through this. But now let us not go back to consider the third step here mentioned, for it is about it that I have set myself to speak and reason as the Lord shall grant me wisdom, the most skillful interpreter of the sacred writings, and then will be he who in the first place has read them all and retained them in his knowledge, if not yet in full understanding, still with such knowledge as reading gives, those of them at least they are called canonical. So we're kind of jumping in the middle here. This is part 12 of his writings, but keep that in mind. But basically, we're going to get in more depth about what is canonical. For he will read that the others with greater safety when built up in the belief of the church of the truth, so that they will not take first possession of a weak mind, nor cheating, if with dangerous falsehoods and delusions, filling with prejudice adverse to a sound understanding. So now, in regard to the canonical scriptures, we must follow the judgment of the greater number of Catholic churches. And among these, of course, a high place must be given to such as have been thought worthy to be the seat of an apostle and to receive epistles. And you can be thinking like the Gospel of Matthew, the Gospel of John, for example, or Paul acknowledges that he's writing his epistles and stuff like that. Accordingly, among the canonical scriptures, he will judge according to the following standard: to prefer those that are receiving by all the Catholic churches to those which some do not receive. And so if everybody universally accepts a book, that's going to make it much easier for you to be seen that it's canonical. Among those, again, which are not received by all, we prefer such as to have the sanction of the greater number, and those of greater authority to such as held by the smaller number of those of less authority. If, however, we shall find that some books are held by the greater number of churches and others by the churches of greater authority, though this is not a very likely thing to happen, I think that in such a case, the authority on the two sides is to be looked upon as equal. So he's just trying to give you a sense of how we go about determining what's in, what's out. And then he continues this dialogue, but he also points out the names of the books that are canonical. I'm just trying to point out things that are in the Protestant Bible rather than the Catholic Bible, but I'm going to go ahead and walk through this remaining quote over the next three charts. Now, the whole canon of scripture on which we say this judgment is to be exercised is contained in the following books. First, the 5 books of Moses: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. 1 book of Joshua, the son of Nun. 1 of Judges. 1 short book called Ruth, which seems to rather to belong to the beginning of Kings. Next to 4 books of Kings and 2 of Chronicles. These last not following one another, but running parallel, so to speak, and going over the same ground. So we have 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles in the modern way that we have that laid out. So the books now mentioned are history, which contain a connected narrative of the time and follow the order of the events. There are other books which seem to follow no regular order and are connected neither with the order of the preceding books nor with one another, such as Job. Then we have some things that are in the Catholic Bible, but they're still interesting: Tobias and Esther and Judith, the 2 books of Maccabees, the 2 on Ezra, which last look most like a sequence to the continuous regular history, which terminates with the book of Kings and Chronicles. Next are the prophets, in which there is 1 book of Psalms, of David and other writers, and 3 books of Solomon. We have Proverbs, Songs of Songs, and Ecclesiastics. For 2 books, one called Wisdom and the other for Ecclesiasticus, are ascribed to Solomon for a certain resemblance of style, but the most likely opinion is that they were written by Jesus, the son of Sirach. Still, there are to be reckoned among the prophetic books, since they are attained recognition as being authoritative. So the remaining are the books which are strictly called the prophets, 12 separate books of the prophets. You can think of them, some at least a portion of these as the minor prophets, but we still have that intermingled with the major prophets. So we have Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. And there are 4 greater prophets: Isaiah, Jeremiah, Daniel, and Ezekiel. The authority of the Old Testament is contained with the limits of these 44 books. And then we just finish up with this last chart looking at the New Testament. So that of the New Testament, again, is contained within the following 4 books of the Gospels. We have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. 14 epistles: Romans, Corinthians, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Thessalonians, first and second, first um, Thessalonians, Colossians, 2 with Timothy, Titus, Philemon, Hebrews, 2 of Peter, 3 of John, Jude, James, the Acts of the Apostles, and we have Revelation. So this just gives us a little synopsis. This is kind of talking a little bit more, just thinking about what we're going to be dealing with, an important topic for what is canonical. Okay, thank you very much. That's going to end it for this anthology reading.